Okay, guys, welcome to the presentation, How the Best Get Better at Wholesale. I'm excited to share this with you guys today because I think it's one of the anchors to becoming a great leader, to expanding, to growth, to having free time, to all of these things that we want to achieve, right? And this is more of an advanced course, but for those of you that are watching it, there's a lot of nuggets that can be found. I don't care what level you're at. We're going to talk about how to get better, right? Now, a lot of this presentation is based off of this book, How the Best Get Better. It is a pretty old book. It's by Dan Sullivan. For those of you that don't know, he runs a company called The Strategic Coach. Also something definitely worth checking out. There will be a link to buy the book at the end of the presentation. So here's how I feel on books, guys. You should have a lot of them, okay? I have thousands and thousands of books. I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to develop. I'm always trying to learn more. And the fact of the matter is that the hard copy is always the best thing to have by you. Why? Because in the times when you're looking for motivation, the times when you're looking to make a change, the times you're looking to grow, as we're going to explain today in the presentation, you need to have the hard copy to rely on, to grab, to take notes, to put all your highlights in, right? It's great to have a hard copy. So start the library. That way when you guys do your 15, 20 minutes of reading each day, because we're going to build a routine, we're going to build consistency, right? You don't want to go looking through your iPad or your phone or your device for what to read, because what happens? We get sidetracked, right? We get on the phone, we have good intentions, we decide we're going to go read something, and next thing you know, a half an hour later, you're on Facebook. So get the hard copy. This tutorial is going to touch on a lot of what's inside this book, but I'm not going to cover everything, so some good nuggets in here as well. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to get jumping into it. This is How the Best Get Better at Wholesale. So, Strategic Coach Deep Dive, once again, and if you guys are watching this, most likely you're a purchaser of the Wholesale Playbook, or you're in one of my high-level mentorship groups, and I'm sharing this with you as a training. Either way, going to be good stuff here for you guys today. So what are we going to cover today? Well, we're going to smash some glass ceilings. Challenge, guys, is that a lot of us fall into the same thing. It's this glass ceiling mentality of, we get so good and then just get struggling to push through. For some of you watching this, it could be that you're still at your job and you're trying to create, a new world for yourself, become an entrepreneur. Go out there and take the risk, and we'll talk about why it's important to do that later on in this presentation. For some of you, you've already built a wholesale team, maybe a small one, maybe it's you and a few people trying to do some deals. Or for some of you, you've already scaled up, and you're like, man, what is the next level? How do I don't know what that looks like, right? We're going to cover all that today, so again, be beneficial for us. Dan Sullivan calls this the ceiling of complexity, right? So we've heard it called the glass ceiling a few times. What he does is he does a great job of explaining why that glass ceiling is really just a ceiling of complexity. It's all in our heads, right? It's psychological, and busting through that thing takes eliminating some complexity, right? The problem most folks have, is experience. So I want you to think about this for a second. Name something that, as you've experienced, became more and more complex, right? Maybe for me, it was the first thing that comes to my mind is wrestling, right? When I was a kid, I tried to wrestle in high school. I was in like the 142 class, so it was very, very difficult to be any decent at all, because there was 4 or 5 guys in my same weight class. But I remember that going back to the basics always worked, right? The more complex the move that we learned, the more experience we had, the more we tried to manipulate, make things more difficult. And so, you'd learn something, you try to implement it, and man, it didn't work. And the next day you learn something else, you try to implement that. And then it goes back to, let me just get really, really good at the takedown. If I can just get the guy to the ground, it's 50% of the battle. Then I can work from there, right? So sometimes going back to the simple is actually a leap forward, right? Slowing down to speed up. Now I'm taking these jiu-jitsu classes. It's really new to me. I just started. I don't claim to be good at it, right? And what is the one thing my jiu-jitsu teacher says to me on week 1? He said, this is a sport where the harder you try, the greater chance you're going to fail. And what he meant by that was, when you're trying to wrestle for position, sometimes the most simplistic move that doesn't take a lot of effort is the one you're going for. Not the most advanced move, which is really hard to remember at the time and you can't master it, right? If you're working hard at jiu-jitsu instead of going with the flow, chances are that experience is causing you drag, right? So experience has a price. We gain experience when we solve complex issues and we close deals. Catch-22 is sometimes we make things more complex. You guys ever get into a deal and you're like, man, I don't ever want to see that thing happen again. Let's put a system in place. Let's make it more difficult. Make them fill out a checklist every time we go to closing, right? Sometimes that experience causes us to get bogged down and slow down. We're going to talk about how to fix that today. However, again, more experience, the more levels of complexity. So at some point, that complexity ends up slowing us down. It keeps us, prevents us from better performance, prevents us from more closings, prevents us from higher revenue, prevents us from having a simplistic business, right? More complex, the less time we have for ourselves and so forth. So we're gonna get into that today. So what we're gonna cover today is smashing that glass ceiling, getting through it, right? Forget about it, let's get past it, right? We're gonna make a paradigm shift. We're gonna talk about what a paradigm is, and we're gonna help you physically make that shift in your mind and in your world, in your schedule day to day. We're gonna define your complexity and simplify what's important. We're gonna start to figure out what's complex about it. What makes it difficult? Why am I in this zone? And why can't I get out of it to create the simplicity that I know I need? We're gonna talk about the two economies that we all care about, or should all care about. If you're on this call, I guarantee you this is a very relevant section for you. You're gonna be very interested in that. And we're also going to, last but not least, add action steps to execute on today's call. Guys, I don't teach things that are theory. By the way, let me backtrack on that a second. I showed you a book, right? I showed you this is what I take away from it. Guys, I'm not just reading a book and writing a presentation, right? A lot of these books, in fact, this book was written in 2005, it was originally wrote in 1996, right? Revamped in 2005. I've had this book on my shelves for a while, and I'm only teaching you guys from basic stuff, basis in a book that I've had experience with. So I'm gonna add in and pepper in exactly where our team has been, where it's going, and why these things are so important. Again, this book's beat up, it's got a highlighter in it. This is something I've had on my shelves for years, and sometimes I'll revisit stuff and say, hey man, what are we doing differently about that piece? How can we implement that? And this was a great reminder, and the reason I decided to record this for you was the complexity that we built. See, this was written in 1996 when the technology isn't where it is today. And a lot of times, as much as technology can help benefit us and make us more efficient and effective, sometimes it also adds levels of complexity that aren't necessary. And we think we have to conform to the technology, when the reality of it is sometimes it's just backing off and using less technology sometimes will actually be a benefit to us. How do we simplify? So we want to talk about creating a state of simplicity, right? This is a great graph. You're going to notice that a lot of things happen here where we have goals and we hit them and we hit them and we hit them consistently or inconsistently rather sometimes. But then we level on that complexity, right? So being able to set up the new strategies and concepts that are needed to get through that glass ceiling, to get through that ceiling of complexity, right? Sometimes what happens is we're focused on one thing so hard that we miss all the other stuff around us, right? It's called working on your business at a 30,000-foot view. The complexity keeps us at that ground level. It doesn't allow us to go up and look. Next thing you know, you're like, man, why are our goals like what they are, right? Why are we shooting for 10,000 when 50,000 is so easily attainable? Grant Cardone said something a couple of years ago. I think it was one of his books. He talked about how his goal early on was to have, I think, 500 units, right? And 500 units was, I don't know, call it $100 million. I don't even know what the numbers were at that time, right? He said, if I had set my sights on becoming a billionaire back then, I would have been a billionaire 10 years sooner, right? So sometimes we can't even see the high-level goals because we're so stuck in trying to make the simple, small goals happen, right? We're trying to hit 10,000 a month. We don't realize the same exact effort, the same exact time, the same exact hard work goes into making $100,000 a month, goes into making $1 million a month. All we have to do is perfect the simple processes and make them effective and efficient in order to scale. That's a lot of what we teach about in this program, right? Simplicity in communication, in thinking, and performing. It's all key. It's all together. It all goes in the same realm, right? Are you effective and efficient at everything you do? And we'll talk about that as well. All stages of growth come from goals, right? Either your goals are at a level where they're way easy attainable, or your goals aren't being pushed high enough. Sometimes we're just not thinking at the higher level, solving higher problems, creating better goals for ourselves. The problem with goals is that they're a catch-22, right? They're going to motivate us to do really well. They're going to motivate us to push ourselves to the next level. What happens is we reach those goals and then they hinder us again. Why? Because we're like, man, I can do so much better than this, right? If I just closed 3 more deals, it takes our eye off the prize, which is good example. A lot of my coaching students will come to me and say, my goal is to hit 50 grand a month, right? Well, how many deals did you close last month? I closed 5. Okay. And what was the average deal? Or what was the total gross sales, right? And, oh man, I hit 30 grand. Okay. So is it more volume? Is it more leads? Or is it just better negotiation, right? Because your average deal closing was $6,000, which is really low. I know we could take, if all we did was take it from 6 to 10, right? You'd hit your goal. So sometimes our goals hinder our thought process. We start thinking, we got to do more volume. I got to close 8, 10 deals to get that number I need to get. No, maybe it's just the way you're negotiating. Maybe it's the way your team's handling their phone calls. Maybe it's the way you're handling your team. Are you being a good coach? Are you being a good visionary for them, right? Again, a lot of these things, the goal sometimes is creating more complexity in the system rather than just, let's change the goal on the deal side. Let's get each deal over 10. If I do that, boom, same amount of work, same amount of activity. Maybe it takes some more leadership, maybe it takes some more coaching, but it's the same amount of effort to make 50 grand as it is to make 5 grand, as it is to make 30 grand, right? The same effort applies. It all depends on where you see your value. And we get what we expect, guys. So how do we break through that glass ceiling, that ceiling of complexity, right? Well, you're going to find that this is a pretty common paradigm that we see. We see people start out and they have what Dan calls rugged individualism, right? Now, I love this concept. I love the term. I've been talking about this for years and years and years, long before I read this book, about how I made my big switch at the point where I thought I was an island. You see, years and years ago, I was a fix and flipper. I was assigning contracts before it was called wholesale. I was a broker, right? I ran all these different operations. I did them myself. I literally had one assistant do all these things and help me do all these things. And it was me and her, and that was it. And I thought I was an island. I didn't need a team. I didn't need to expand, right? But then crisis steps into play. I'm going to talk about that in a second. That's the shift that hits us, and we say, man, I can't do this anymore. I got to do something different. I got to break through. I got to break through. There's another level for me. I know there is. Deep down inside, I know there's another level. Why can't I get through this ceiling? And the truth is, and the reality of it is, for most people, complexity is keeping you from busting through that ceiling, right? So this program, this system, this everything we're teaching here, this is to help you simplify. It's to help you grow. It's to help you level up. It's to stop having cash flow issues, right? If you've already built a team or you're in that process, it's to get you off of the roller coaster of entrepreneurism, right? It's to help you level things off into a nice straight line up. So how do we make these paradigm shifts? Well, a paradigm, first of all, to define it, is a belief of how things work, right? So, good example, guys, is how we were raised, right? A lot of us, I was on this call yesterday or the day before with one of the guys in my group, very successful guy, by the way. He's on the pace to do $60,000 this month just in wholesale fees. And he's only been in the game for 5 or 6 months. He started 5 or 6 months ago. And he said something very powerful. He said, Joe, I'm having a hard time getting my mental off of doing the busy work, doing the $10 to $20 an hour work. Part of the problem is, my dad's on my team. And my dad was a I think he said he was a concrete guy back in the day. My dad's always been doing concrete. And to this day, he works for us on the job sites, overseeing stuff. But, I'll be in the car with him and he'll say, you got to work hard. You got to put in the effort. You got to be on the job site. You got to be seeing what these guys are doing, right? Guys, that's a paradigm shift. That's a belief structure that the job's not going to get done unless I'm overseeing it. The stuff's not going to happen unless I'm there physically, right? A paradigm shift or a belief shift would be understanding that, guys, I flipped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses. I haven't stepped foot on a job site that I didn't want to go look at, and I mean I'm talking 99.5% of the houses. I have not stepped on those sites in 4 or 5 years. If you catch me on a video on a site, it's literally because I'm passionate. I like being there, but I know my highest and best use is not on the construction site. So a few of the new constructions I'll visit because I like new construction. It's my background. But you're not going to find me looking at fix and flip houses, looking at our rental properties, checking out our wholesale deals, inspecting properties, talking one-on-one with sellers. It just doesn't happen. It was a paradigm shift that I had to have years ago to realize that my highest and best use is not in the field. It's in training and coaching and building a vision for my team. That's where I belong. That's what we're going to talk about today. So a lot of us are stuck in the mentality of what our parents taught us. And it's difficult to break free. It's difficult to be the black sheep. It's difficult to say, Mom and Dad, I trust you, I respect you, I love you, but that's not for me. It's so hard for so many people to do that, including myself. I'm going to talk about my paradigm shift here in a second. So we all have beliefs, and they're based on 3 things. Again, Dan talks about your past, your present, and your future, okay? And paradigms don't shift until we're met with crisis. So I'll talk to you about my paradigm shift real quick. I told you I was a one-man band, one-man island, me and an assistant, fixing, flipping, buying, holding, realtor, broker, and I had a crisis. I had basically a panic attack. You see, at one point in time, I was everything to everybody, and I felt the pressure, I felt the weight. And folks, I'm here to tell you, I was making great money on paper, fixing and flipping houses. I was making a couple $100,000 a year selling real estate as a broker. We had rental property income, all this stuff, right? On paper, I was making a lot of money, but my account never had anything in it because nobody taught me at the time that when you're building a business, you need to create leverage. So everything I made went right back into my company, and there's no cash available. And I remember one time literally crying myself to sleep at night, wondering how I was going to pay my mortgage. And I thought to myself, how can a guy that's making all this money, everyone's patting me on the back, yeah, good job, I see what you're doing on social media, you're kicking ass, taking names. And I'm like, dude, I'm scared to death. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I don't know how I'm going to push through this. I used to call myself Superman, not because of all the weight I would carry, but because I never felt like I was being 100% authentic in front of any crowd. You see, I would get up in the morning and I would go be a realtor. And back then it was suit and tie, like we were professionals. Keller Williams changed the whole model, so now everybody's on a t-shirt and jeans. But back then we used to dress up. So I would go to the office in the morning and I would prospect for half the day. 4 or 5 hours on the phone. I would make appointments for myself, listing appointments, buyer consults, the whole thing. And then around lunchtime, I would go home and I would change like I was in a phone booth, like Superman, jump in the phone booth. Clark Kent turns into Superman. And I would throw on my boots, my jeans, my t-shirt, and I would get in the car and I would drive out to the job sites. And I would be cutting checks and I'd be talking schedule. I'd be picking paint colors and tile, and I would be everything to everybody. But the reason I never felt like I was living my true self is I would never admit to the realtor clients that I was flipping houses down the street. And when I met with my contractors, I would never admit to them that I was really a suit and tie wearing, white collar realtor, negotiating deals. And I started to have a mental breakdown, like, man, I can't be everything to everybody. I got to make a shift. I got to make a change. And that, my friends, is where crisis sets in. When you have a crisis of that magnitude, you will make a shift. Now, a lot of you are on this call because you had a crisis of, I need to have my own entrepreneurial endeavor. I need to be a real estate investor. I need to be a wholesaler. I need to make money to get me out of this day job, this 9 to 5. Some of you, are on that I need to grow a team. I need to do deals. I need to be consistent. Having a crisis, and I got to make it better so I can start to simplify cash flow and happiness and results with my relationships and connection with my kids or my friends or my dad or my whatever, right? You got to solve something. You're here because of a crisis. You have to make a shift, right? And that paradigm shift only happens in crisis as a result of this last graph, right? You'll see a lot of us are rugged individualists, and then we just get hit one day, blindsided on a Tuesday. Enough is enough. I'm tired of being this person. I got to do better. And that's where the shift creates a paradigm shift, right? We want to be different. But let's backtrack to rugged individualism. What does it look like, right? Well, for some of us, my gift didn't play. There you go. Now it's playing, right? We're on an island. We think we're an island. And the fact is, no man or woman is an island. So if you're watching this, understand there's an impact to long-term rugged individualism, right? We say to ourselves things like, it's easier to do myself. I can't trust anyone else to do it. Who can I trust to do it anyway? If I try to outsource it, who can I trust, right? I'm not that person. I can just handle it all myself. I can work a few more hours, put 100-hour weeks in. I'm invincible, right? Ego sets in. We become individualists, right? But as individuals grow older, they get trapped in their RI, right? It's their weakness. Now, I'm not talking bad about my dad or my buddy's dad was in the contracting business. These are old school guys who started an entrepreneur business, didn't have other mentors, didn't have social media, didn't have guidance and courses like you guys have available to you today. So their thought process was, I work hard, I get an honest living, I do an honest job with integrity, and I'm on the site, I pay attention to every detail, I pick up a hammer. Guess what? Long term, they had some success. They might be able to retire. Their bodies are beat up. They didn't work with their mind, they worked with their hands. They pushed, right? Not taking anything away from them. But inevitably over the course of time, that ability to not let go and not be able to grow becomes a weakness. It becomes a trap. It becomes harder and harder to get out of, to the point where we're teaching the next generation to do the same thing, right? But what was my crisis and how did it push me? Well, it helped me make a real shift. It helped me realize that no man is an island, and helped me remember that teamwork is going to really make the dream work, right? Ultimately, the vision that I had in my head could not happen individually. I had to build a team. At the time, I had one assistant, right? So I had to decide, how do I combine my individual unique ability, my talent, my specialty, with other people's unique ability to make a common benefit, right? So that we both succeed. Well, for me, my mentor said to me, oh, and by the way, in that crisis mode, I decided, man, I'm shutting down the brokerage. I'm done. I'm out of it. I'm selling the brokerage. I can't do this anymore, right? I got to focus on what I really love, and that's fixing and flipping houses at the time. My mentor said to me, well, you made a bunch of money in selling brokerage work last year. I said, yeah. He goes, well, why kill that? Why shut it down? Why close it? Your assistant has a real estate license. Why not effectively hand her the license and let her work with the team? Let her work with your clients. Close the money, close the business. Now, at that time, again, I'm big ego at that time, right? My ego's come down quite a bit since then. And at that ego time, I was saying to myself, man, I can't give my clients to her. What happens? What if she doesn't give them the best service? What if she doesn't work like I do? What if all these what ifs, okay? But I made a tough decision. Again, in crisis mode, I made that tough decision. Look, I'm either going to shut it down and make zero, or I can negotiate a good contract with her where she gets a piece of the deal. Instead of a flat salary, now she's making commission, but she has a tremendous upside. And I can step away from it. So I said to her, look, here's the deal. Here's how I see it playing out. I think you can make a lot more money. You're already doing what you're doing anyway. You're working with the buyers and sellers. Go work with them. See what happens. And the result, and again, this is a good example. Your weaknesses are transformed by others' strengths, right? Her strength and her love was brokerage, was being a realtor, right? Not my love. So what were the results after that first 12 months where I didn't do anything in the brokerage business and she did all of it? Well, the results were I did 50% more revenue in the rehab side because that was my focus, my passion, my love. And she was able to do slightly more revenue than we did as a team before that year. right? Not only did she take on the clients, she actually engaged more clients and created more revenue. So the result of me letting go of a piece, letting go of the vine, focusing on team, was we ultimately grew both sides of the business to more revenue and in an easier fashion where I didn't have to be as involved. So this creates a multiplying effect now. Now I've let go of the vine and I've allowed her to stay in her unique ability and me to stay in my unique ability. I'm multiplying. So what do we do next? Well, it frees us to focus entirely where our passions lie, first of all, right? I was all in on the fix and flip. I love that business, right? Back then I was on the jobs, I was helping the subs, started to learn, hey, what if I multiplied myself and I stopped working on the jobs? What if I started general contractors to do this stuff for me? Oh, that's where the explosion came in, right? Now all of a sudden, I'm in my strengths, I'm in my passion, I found my purpose. It's helping people build. So now I'm setting myself up for a future-based mindset, right? So we said, obviously, there's the present, there's the past, and there's the future. So what's the future-based mindset look like? Well, my present thoughts are based on two things. All of our present thoughts, rather, are based on one of two things, okay? Number one is you're basing it on your past belief of yourself, right? Your past belief is going to resist anything new. They're going to find, people who live in past belief are going to find life to be difficult, unsatisfying, threatening, living paycheck to paycheck, constantly scared to make a move, right? Why? Because they're thinking about, oh man, that happened before. I got burnt doing that, man. That was crisis mode. I don't want to go back there again. That's difficult. And we constantly sell ourselves on our past. Sometimes you guys hear this called limiting beliefs, right? We sell ourselves on limiting beliefs because of some of the stuff that was taught to us as a child, some of the stuff we grew up around, and God forbid, seeing other people fail, right? But a future-based person is thinking about, what can I create? What can I build? What can I scale, right? They chase continuous flow of new and bigger challenges, right? We're trying to solve bigger problems. For me, the sexy part of wholesale is when I'm able to help a seller solve a problem that they had no end in sight. Multiple people have tried. They've never been able to figure out how to sell this property. And we get out of it and we make money, lots of money, as a matter of fact, by finding a buyer for that property and solving their issue, both buyer and seller, solving their problem. Complexity, the more complex the deal, the sexier it is for me. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the simple ones. I love making 20 grand, flipping a contract, and both people win. All three people win, right? Like we talk about. But the complex deals that I chase, they're the ones with the biggest payday, and generally the happiest buyer and seller. So the future-based thinkers are always laying the groundwork for the next level, right? It's the difference between living accidentally or living intently, okay? You're going to find your past-based thinkers are just accidentally stepping on shit. If they're becoming a little bit more successful, it's because they accidentally found it. It came to them. A referral called them out of the blue. They're not going after it. They're not prospecting. They're not driving the business. They're not creating more for themselves. They're not building their team. It's a future-based thinker, okay? So what's the difference? Well, a future-based thinker, future-based people achieve freedom. Man, I wish I could see my own slides. I got this. I don't know if you guys can see this thing, but I got this thing right in front of my own slide, and I can't seem to slide it out of the way. Oh, there it goes. Boom. All right. So a future-based person achieves freedom from the past, right? They're getting out of that past-based thinking, and they're really unattracted to past-based thinkers, right? I used to say that C players are allergic to A players, right? A future-based thinker, an A player, is constantly moving the ball forward. When you start getting around average people or past-based thinkers or people that are stuck in limiting beliefs and don't want to change, don't want to shift paradigms, those two people, they're allergic to each other. They don't want to be in the same room. Why? Because the A player scares the C player. The A player makes the C player uncomfortable. The A player is looking to be surrounded by other A players. It's why you guys join a mastermind. That's why you get around higher level thinkers. It's because you're attracted to each other. You love to challenge each other. You love the friendly competition. The guys that are in my wholesale syndicate are in there for that's one of many purposes, but it's part of their purpose. They want the different cities from around the country to force them to get better, push them to another level, right? That's where masterminding is so powerful. So Past-based thinkers or C players, they're allergic to that stuff. They're not attracted to that. They're scared of it. Okay? Good news is you can change. You can figure it out, right? Future-based thinkers are going to create A teams, like I just said, right? You're going to find A players to come work with you, to work for you, to work as your team. And also, you're going to start to find groups that are based on A players. Future-based players also quickly and easily step into the role of visionary. Now, I have an entire training on what visionary is and how to become a good visionary and a good leader and a good coach for your people. If you probably have already listened to that, or you should. But future-based thinkers are able to step into that role a lot easier. Past-based thinker, much, much tougher for them to make that transition. Also, future-based thinkers and visionaries, they learn to tell detailed stories about the present, about the past, and about the future. They learn to lead their team because they live in the future. All day long, folks, I'm thinking about where we're going to grow, how we're going to get there, what our goals are this month, what our goals are this year. What is the operator inside that team thinking and relaying to the team? How is he creating a good vision for them? Very, very important to growing a good team. You can't have people follow you if you can't tell them a good story. And a lot of people think of the word story and they're like, well, you're making shit up. Everything that we're going after is made up, right? It's our goal, it's our vision. Elon Musk did not get to his level without telling really good stories and then finding the team to achieve those stories and create those things, right? That's next level thinking. So you guys have a big decision to make, right? And this decision sometimes is made consciously, sometimes it's made unconsciously. Some of you are sitting here saying, man, I've grown and expanded my team. I have the process, I have the vision, I'm pushing it every day. That's awesome. You might be doing that unconsciously. You might just be a great visionary. But that being said, great leaders, I firmly believe, they're not just born. You can be made into a great leader. You can be molded into a great leader. You can practice being a great coach. You can practice being a great visionary. Ask me how I know. The problem is you have to make a decision today. You have to make a decision right now. If you're watching this, it's very, very important for you to make this decision. Number one is you can depend entirely on your own ability to grow your economic security, okay? That's living on an island. Remember thinking about back where I was when I was calling myself Superman and I was changing clothes every day and I was one man to everything. I was a husband, I was a father, I was an investor, I was a wholesaler, I was a broker, I was a representative on a bunch of deals back and forth. I was in the industry, the real estate industry, 110%. I was working 100 hours a week. What I forgot to mention was I was missing dinners with my kids. I wasn't home for my wife. I missed my nephews and nieces' birthday parties. I was never available to anybody because I was the guy that always had something going on or to do, right? That's the entirety of being a past-based thinker or being stuck in that piece. You are entirely dependent on your own financial security, right? You're a one-man show. If you don't wake up, you have a high-paying job. If you don't go to it, you're not getting paid, right? If you are by yourself or with less than one or two people around you, you have to expand to push yourself to that next level, right? The second opportunity or conscious decision or big decision that you have to make is you can expect opportunity in life only after creating value for others. In other words, when you start to help other people make money, you start to help other people grow, and you start to being actually concerned about what other people are making, next level, right? And pay attention to that, now all of a sudden you can expect more opportunity for yourself. Now all of a sudden you wake up with multiple streams of income. Now you wake up with only thoughts of how do I help, not how do I take. The harder you focus on how do I help, create good sales teams, create good leaders, create good operators in different areas. How do I help them get better? Then I'm going to make more money. Ultimately, I'm going to have multiple streams of income because I'm going to be focused on others' success, not just my own. So, what does that look like? Well, for some, the bottom line, right, is having a job. If you have a job, then you give time and effort for a reciprocal amount of money, right? Why do people stay in that position? We'll talk about that in a second. The flip side, on the other side of risk, is becoming an entrepreneur, right? You have no guaranteed income. I haven't had guaranteed income in 15 years. right? I make my money. I survive that way, right? But it comes with opportunity. It comes with results. It also comes with risk. So there's two economies that you can be in. You can be in the time and effort economy, where 80% of individuals live. By the way, think about some math here. A lot of people talk about getting the top 1% and the top 5%. Where do you guys think the top 1 and the top 5 survive? Where do you think they come from? Well, they're certainly not in the time and effort economy. I'd say there's very, very few people in the top 5 or the top 1% that have a job, right? Most of them are entrepreneurs. So you can be in the time and effort economy where 80% of all workers are, and all people are 80% of people are workers, they have a job. And that's based on the job security and they get guaranteed income, right? We all know, or a lot of us know as entrepreneurs, it's also a myth, right? Your guaranteed income is only as guaranteed as your time and effort that you put in, as the results that you drive, and as the ability for the company to stay in business. Most small businesses don't make it in the first 5 years, right? A lot fail after that. So that guaranteed job security is not so guaranteed, folks. The second piece is you could be in the results economy. You could be the entrepreneur. 20% of these people, 20% of the US population are here, right? They desire greater opportunity, greater income, greater freedom. But they don't get the quote unquote guaranteed paycheck. They don't get the guaranteed income, and they don't get the job security, whatever that is, right? Than the rest of us. They do get guaranteed opportunity that they create. They create their own luck. They push the ball down the field, right? They are great visionaries who get to coach and learn and push their team to success because they're creating opportunity for others. Super important. So what's the road to economic adulthood look like? I love this. Dan talks about this. He calls it economic adulthood, right? Because so few of us, or so many of us rather, get stuck in this position where we're paycheck to paycheck, we're blaming others, we're not paying attention to our own economic adulthood. We're not growing into prosperity. We're living in that rat race, that mouse wheel, right? So first, you must escape from the 3 permanent crises of complexity, right? Again, Dan does a great job of this. There's 3 things that he boils down to that create complexity in our life, that make it more difficult, right? And that we cause a lot of the times. Number 1 is the complexity of too much happening and not enough time to think and learn. Now, I'm going to say that again. Too much is happening. I don't have enough time to think and learn. I can't grow. I'm constantly putting out fires, right? You're going to hear me say over and over again in this training that the ones that have the most fires, the entrepreneurs that are out there putting out fires all day long, those are the secret arsonists, okay? They're creating busy work for themselves. They're finding ways to make excuses for not crushing their big goals, for not going after the high gain activities. Why? Because the high gain activities, folks, are mostly the ones that are the most uncomfortable to do for a lot of us. They're the difficult conversations. They're the deal closing. They're getting it across the finish line, right? A lot of times that's the most difficult. So we make all this other busy work or fires to keep ourselves feeling like we've achieved something. When in reality, we haven't achieved shit. We haven't gone after the high gain activities. We haven't done the hard work. See, doing the hard work, it's like Pareto's law. It's 80-20. If you do the 20% of the hard shit that you know has to get done, that you know is going to move the needle, that you know is going to make you uncomfortable, but you know is going to put you in a different place, a lot of times that other 80% of work doesn't even have to be done. It becomes a non-entity. It becomes not important. In fact, doing the hard shit a lot of times makes the easy shit go away. It disappears because you've made stuff more effective and more simple. So if you have too much happening and not enough time to think and learn, we're going to go over a solution for that in a minute. Too little security, not enough opportunity, right? A lot of us, like the Superman days of me, right? I had a lot of money on paper, but I didn't have any security. I was scared. I didn't know how I was going to pay my mortgage, right? It's mostly because I didn't create enough opportunity for myself to go out there and be successful. People leverage, money leverage, deal leverage, right? We have to create opportunity, make it happen, not wait for it. Next thing, I had too few resources, right? Not enough leverage. So in other words, we make these excuses of, why we can't get in the right group so that I can help, I can reach out to mentors to help me close deals. Where's my resources for getting it done? Where's my hires and people leverage that I need to make that deal easier or go smoother or happen automatically, which is what we're trying to achieve here. And last but not least, money leverage, right? Too few of us are afraid to risk what we have. Guys, I'm here to tell you, as an entrepreneur, you're going to be broke monthly, weekly. You should be, right? You have to take the money you're earning and reinvest it into something either different or your business or yourself for growth, growth, growth. You're never going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash just lying around while you're in the growth mode, right? It doesn't happen while you're trying to grow. You're always trying to reinvest into something bigger, better, different, whatever, right? But you have to create that leverage. And that comes from having the ability to leverage. So what are our action steps? You said, Joe, this is all good stuff. It's all learning. How can I fix it? I know I'm the rugged individualist, or I know that I'm in that transition period into making myself a team player, into a team owner, to a visionary. What are my steps? Well, it's important that you guys take a pen and a notepad out right now, pause this video, and write these down, okay? Because I don't train these things, again, for theory. I train because it's exactly the things that I do and still do to this day in order to stay in my future-based self, okay? Number one is you have to block time for creation and growth. This might be the hardest thing for most entrepreneurs. It's still difficult for me today, and I have a great routine, okay? You have to be able to create and grow. If you don't have the ability and you're stifled because you're working too hard, you're not going anywhere. You're on the mouse wheel. The difference between those that are taking off and those that are just staying on the wheel is the people that don't make time for growth. So you need to spend time with a pen and a notepad like this, right? Carry around a leather-bound notepad everywhere I go and a pen to journal. You have to think about the solutions. You have to think about who you can ask questions to get to the level that you want to get to. You have to think about and reflect on the team you want to build, the goals you want to have, the place you want to get to, the material things you want to buy. This is your time to get selfish because you've made time to do so. Think about the impact you can make. Think about the people you can recruit. Think about the value you can create for them. Think about the sales goals that you have for yourself and your team. Think about how you can change your deals from 5,000 to 20,000. Ask yourself difficult questions and write them down in your journal. Block time for this. Guys, 5 days a week at a minimum, I spend a half an hour writing in this journal. I usually do it early in the morning after I get back from the gym, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. I'm doing meditation and I'm doing journaling. I'm working on myself. It's my time to work on myself and grow and create right before I wake up my daughters about 7:15, right? It's quiet. The dogs aren't bothering me. My wife's generally working out or she's still asleep. I can focus on me, right? You need to block time for this. It's very, very important. Do it on your calendar now or right after this video. Separate opportunity from distraction. This is another big one. You hear people say the most successful in the world got really good at saying no, okay? I want you guys to think about every time something is presented to you, is this an opportunity or is it going to take me off track? Is this new software going to help my business or make it more complex? Is that complexity going to slow us down or make us faster, right? Is this new deal an opportunity? Everything. Think about it. Before you commit to doing more, complex, pull it back and say to yourself, if I chase this opportunity, because there indeed is one, how do I make it simple? You see, at this level, guys, I own 9 different companies and I'm expanding every year now because the ones that I own are getting easier and easier and more simple to manage because I've designed them that way. I've started to shut down the complex businesses with little meat on the table and started focusing on the businesses that can create real impact on other people's lives in the shortest amount of time. That's why you're on this call, right? I want to see how much I can help you in this shortest period of time. I want you to grow. I want to create real value. I want you to benefit from this training. But if I do this training once, I know I can impact hundreds of thousands of people just by getting them into this training and helping them get better. How can you do that with your own business? How can you create your own team that's effective and efficient because of how you train them and how you share your vision and your stories with them? Make sure you're chasing opportunity, not distractions. Next one, create more leverage. This is people leverage, this is money leverage, this is virtual, and this is local, okay? The reason I say that is because there's gonna be a section on here on how to hire and manage virtual assistants. I am a firm believer that they are a big part of how we are profitable in multiple businesses, but you guys are here for wholesale. We use our wholesale team, our virtual wholesale team, to do marketing, to do social media posts, to do distribution, to manage our email list, to do transaction coordination, and we're gonna teach you all of that within this model. I want you guys to think about that on every single ability in your life. How can you outsource things? Are you spending time cleaning your house? Get a cleaner. You spending time mowing the lawn? Get a landscaper, okay? I literally just told my assistant this week to start having people come to my office and detail my car every couple of weeks. I don't want to drive it to the car wash. Where can you be most effective? I know that sounds pompous. I don't mean it to sound that way. I mean it so because I am better, and my unique ability is better when I'm working in my office, focused on great content to help you guys grow and learn. Every minute that I spend doing dumb shit is one less minute that I didn't spend on a high gain activity like this, creating great content, helping you guys learn and grow. How can you leverage the things in your life? How can you leverage the things in your team that you're not good at? How can you hire great people to take over those things that you're not good at? Focus on your unique ability. Become more successful that way. So, follow the roadmap to prosperity the way we laid it out. Start with these steps that I just gave you and make sure that you take action on them right away. Put them in your calendar, right? For this hour, I'm going to spend time thinking about how I can create more effectiveness and efficiency in my team. For this hour, I'm going to spend time thinking about and journaling how I'm going to create better deal gaps, how I'm going to negotiate better, right? Think about how you can create and grow, leverage, and make yourself more effective and more efficient. If you want a copy of this book, How to Best Get Better, as I throw it on the floor, guys, go ahead and check out my website. I'll put it on there along with my top 100 books. Again, nothing on this list is not anything that I haven't implemented, haven't built, haven't created around. There's no theory on this list, guys. These are the top 100 books that I think have helped us catapult our businesses to profitability over the last 10 years. So it's a reading list. This book, if it's not on that list, will be implemented on that list very shortly. As soon as our team updates it, I'm pretty confident it's on there now when you're watching this. But you can go to joeevangelisti.com/top 100. And that's our top 100 books. Again, joeevangelisti.com, top 100. Appreciate you guys for watching. Go out there and kick ass.